For the very latest, we can now cross live to Buckingham Palace and speak to Rise correspondent Lakwe Olarinoye. Lakwe, thank you so much for joining us once again on Newsday. We'd like to know what the mood is like there where you are as the whole of Britain mourns Queen Elizabeth II. We understand that King Charles III is on his way to London. What more can you tell us?
Well, so far on the way here, when I was walking up, I saw crowds and crowds of people walking up with, a lot of them with flowers, which have walking towards Buckingham Palace, which is right behind me. You can see the crowds of people there. Many people are feeling very sad. People had a personal connection to the Queen. She's been described as the nation's grandmother, so there is a huge sense of loss here today. Other than that, people have been advised not to lay their flowers right outside the gate, but instead to Hyde Park, which, by the way, we've just heard the 96 gun salute, which was very loud and clear to all. So the mood across the country, especially here at Buckingham Palace, is still one of a huge loss to many people. It's a very sad one. People aren't rejoicing or screaming or celebrating. There is an eerie silence across this area today.
Yes, it surely is a different scene. Could you tell us what is planned for today and over the next course of days leading up to the funeral of Queen Elizabeth?
Well, so far we know that the King Charles, has been pictured leaving Balmoral and has been pictured at Aberdeen Airport. He should be on his way to London now, and of course the crowds are expectant of an address to the nation, the first address as King. That will be happening at some point today. There are reports saying that it could take place at 6 p.m, but that hasn't been confirmed just yet. But the fact is, right now, crowds are eagerly waiting to be addressed by their new King. Away from the address from the King, we also know that the Queen's body is currently at the Balmoral Castle. In the next couple of days, her body will be flown to London. That is before it gets moved to St Giles's Cathedral in Edinburgh. When her body does arrive in London, there will be a lying in state in the Westminster Abbey, and people, the public, will be open to come in for a course of 4 days to pay their last respects to her there. Whilst that is going on, there will be an Ascension meeting, and that is said to announce King Charles as officially the King of the United Kingdom and Great Britain, and that will take place on Saturday. In the meantime, we've had the 96 gun salute that's taken place in Hyde Park, which is not too far from here, in parts of Tower Hill, and of course further afield as well. It was very loud, it's very clear, and there was a clear silence. People were resonating with that, and it also took place in other parts of the country as well, in places like Edinburgh and Belfast. So that is what's taken place so far. We also know that over in St Paul's Cathedral, which is not too far from here, about a 10-minute drive from here, there is said to be a memorial ceremony taking place this evening at 6 o'clock. It's open to the public. A maximum of 2,000 people can attend. The Prime Minister, as well as the Mayor of London, are also said to attend that as well. So those are some of the activities that will be taking place. Of course, you would imagine the funeral is being currently arranged. There hasn't been an announcement of the day yet, but traditionally it will take place 10 days after the monarch passes. So far we're awaiting that confirmation, but there is a lot on here today, and there will be for the next couple of weeks.
And it's a very reflective and somber atmosphere indeed. But we've just heard from the House of Commons as they pay tribute. And it also makes us think about how just 2 days ago, the Queen was still working as she asked Liz Truss to form a new government. And now, what do the people on the ground have to say, or how are people feeling about the sense of duty that she showed to the very last moment?
You know, a lot of people here today, I've spoken to some of the people here today, a lot of them are and have had contact with the Queen, whether that's through her charitable work or whether that's through her presence, her omnipresence, if you like, as someone described, or that's whether even that is just through the fact that they have made encounters with her with the type of work she's done. And that has really shown her sense of duty, her sense of commitment. And we saw that. It was very symbolic when the outgoing Prime Minister Boris Johnson went over to Balmoral to officially resign, and we saw the incoming Prime Minister Liz Truss also take over. That was the last picture that we saw of the Queen, and for many that was why this death is such a shock, because of the last image we saw of her was barely 72 hours ago. She did look frail, but of course she was still working right till the end, and she committed herself to the country, to her people, and of course to the Crown as well. And that is something that a lot of people will remember, and it's very symbolic actually, because the amount of people here today to pay their last respects to the Queen are here today because of what they can see in her and how they resonate with that sense of duty, that sense of commitment to not just her family but to the world as well. Of course, the Commonwealth being a huge part of that as well.
Well, Lakwe, very briefly, Britain has a new king, of course, King Charles III. Tell us how you think this next era of the British monarchy will take shape, very briefly.
Well, the next era is something that people are very expectant of, particularly because of the gap that the Queen leaves, the adoration for the Queen. So King Charles has big shoes to fill, and I'm sure he has had enough time to prepare for that. He's had 73 years to prepare for that. Of course, they're two different characters, so people are expectant in his address if he will give any kind of inclination to what the next era of the British monarchy will look like.
Well, Lakwe Olarinoye, thank you so much for joining us and keeping us updated on the situation live in London.